up and running, but so I want to thank our team for pulling this together at the last minute. But obviously be patient as the system is not optimum from what we're accustomed to. But with that, I would like to ask the clerk to please announce the meeting and call the roll.
Roll call. Maddox. Here. Kane.
Here.
Markley.
Here.
Walters.
Here.
Philbrook.
Here.
Walker. Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Mugia. Holland.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Reverend Ken Netling of Faith Lutheran Church. We invite you to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our gracious God, we gather in your name and give you thanks and praise for this house united. We got a full house here tonight, Lord, and our big topic is diversity. And yet, what brings us together is what makes us community. And so, Lord, we pray your Spirit upon us as we share and debate and talk and live in your spirit of community and unity. Lord, we lift up all those who serve us, those in front of us, those around us, those who are on call now in our community, and allow your spirit and protecting hand to be upon especially those who call this place home. We pray all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I want to thank everyone for being here. We do have two parts of our meeting tonight. We have the public hearing and we have a course of regular business. Because of the length of business that we have, we're going to hold that to the end, and we're going to do the public hearing first, which is why most of you are here. And so I just want to say thank you, and I want to start off by giving a little bit of background in terms of what we've been doing. But first, I also want to recognize two student groups that are here. I understand there's a group from Bishop Ward High School. Can the Bishop Ward crew stand? Welcome. We're glad you're here. We also have a group from Wyandotte High School. Can the Wyandotte students please stand? All right, thank you. We're glad that you're here. We're especially glad that some of the youth in our community are present tonight as well. I'll tell the story briefly, and there's a timeline that's up here on the screen that gives you an idea of how we arrived at this day, and it's a really important day that we have right now. But in November of 2013, watching a firefighter recruit class walk across the stage, very qualified young men, each one of them tops in their field, earned the right to be hired and deservedly so. Did an excellent job in preparing to be hired and through the recruiting process. Very proud of our public safety personnel. And yet, as I watched them walk across the stage, I recognized immediately that it wasn't a group that was particularly representative of our community. I only saw one woman walk across the stage and not one African American. And with 42 students, as I looked into that over the next few weeks, it turned out that only 12 of the 42 went to high school in Kansas City, Kansas. And so I placed this issue under my economic development program. I believe you should always hire people from outside the community. I don't think you should ever just hire people from inside. But when 25% are from Wyandotte County and 75% were not, I felt like those percentages were perhaps inverted. I also felt like that if we were to hire local, that we would have the diversity that we expect in our community. Our community is the most diverse in the region, one of the most diverse in the entire country. And so when I think of all of our hiring in the unified government, both public safety and non-public safety, I expect that that diversity in our community is going to be reflected in our employees. I also expect that if we hired local, we'd have diversity. It's difficult for me to go to Cerner, General Motors, and KU Med, the three largest employers in our community, and ask them to hire local if the unified government isn't modeling that behavior. And so if we're going to hire local, then we need to model that as an organization and be aggressive about that. So out of that, in December, looked more into it. In January, at the Martin Luther King event in 2014, I announced my intent to bring in the Department of Justice and to begin a comprehensive look at both our hiring and recruiting processes in our community to see what we could do to do differently. My standard then is the same standard that I have now. I expect that Kansas City, Kansas will set a national standard for hiring in a diverse community and having representative public safety. I expect what we come out with from our task force is going to be a national model that other communities will want to emulate. So that's the standard I've set. That's a very high standard, and I believe that's one that our community is up to. We started with, in April, gathering data with a small group. That group, the initial data gathering group is listed there. And then we went out to a larger group of the task force and began working. The task force includes a number of people. It includes all of the educational institutions, all the school districts, public and private. It also includes Donnelly and the community college. We're going to need our educational community involved in this, particularly from a jobs perspective. When you think about a firefighter's salary, a firefighter starts at a salary that is half again the median household income in Wyandotte County. And our kids ought to be clamoring for these great careers. They're great careers with great benefits. It's a great place to work, and our kids ought to be clamoring for those. And so we want all the educational institutions involved. I've also asked each of the commissioners to appoint either themselves or a designee to this, and each commissioner has responded to that, and I appreciate the commissioner's investment in this process. And then we have groups from each of our police, fire, and sheriff's departments, both the leads in those departments, but also members of the unions in those, and I'm appreciative of everyone's participation. We also involve our human resources group. We have the NAACP represented. We have the black firefighters, Latino police officers, also involved in a number of other community leaders. So it's a very comprehensive list of folks who have come together for this process. But one of the things we know is we cannot move forward without public comment. We have to make sure we get the input from the people in our community who live and work here every single day and make sure that we hear your voice. So we have our task force here, and the task force job tonight is to listen and to listen to the community. We have our commissioners here, and our job as the elected body is to listen tonight. But I would like to ask all the members of the task force, if you are here tonight, if you would please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I also want to identify the leadership team. That includes myself, Reverend Jimmy Banks, who is the chairperson, Derek Dean, our DOG facilitator. You'll be hearing from both of them in a moment. Irene Caudillo from El Centro, Bill Miller, former UG commissioner, Gordon Criswell in the administrator's office, David Smith from District 500, and Maureen Mahoney, my chief of staff. So that's the leadership team, and then we have the whole group that's working together on this. So as we begin, I would like to just start with, I recently had the privilege of meeting the regional director of the Black Firefighters Association. And so in preparation for that meeting, went to the website of the National Black Firefighters Association and pulled down their mission statement and looked at what the goal was. The Black Firefighters Association was founded in 1969. And in 1969, they set as their goal to recruit young black men into the service of the firefighters. That was their goal in 1969. And nearly a half century later, we still have the same challenge, not just for African American men, but women and Latino and Asian as well. The challenge of diversity has never been greater. The statistics that we pulled, and I have just two slides. The first is the gender slides in our departments. So when you look at our population of the whole city at the top, non-public safety UG employees, there's over 1,100 non-public safety employees, reflects the same gender diversity as the community. But then when you start getting into the public safety, sheriff obviously leading the way, but police and fire with the diversity numbers for gender. I think those are issues we need to continue to address as we're looking at this, because it's not simply ethnic diversity that we're looking for, but also gender diversity in these departments. The next slide looks at the ethnic breakdown. If you look at the top, again, I said we're one of the most diverse cities in the nation. About 40% white, 27% black, 28% Hispanic, and 2%, which is, or excuse me, 7%, which is largely is a growing Asian population. So we have a great diversity in our community. Our non-public safety employees, again, those 1,100 non-public safety employees, we have, I think this is very interesting because we're pretty close on the Asian group, pretty close on the African American group. The growing Hispanic group, that's the fastest growing group in our city, and clearly we have not caught up in hiring with that fast growing population. So that's interesting on the non-public safety. But then when you go to start getting into public safety, again, the Sheriff's Department is leading the way in diversity with numbers that are fairly reflective of the unified government as a whole. And then you can see the gap starting to grow with the police and then with the fire. And so when I look at our fire numbers especially, I want to repeat about our police and fire and sheriff's people. We have great departments who are working very hard for our community every single day. This process is not an indictment on the men and women who put their lives on the line for our community every day. By any means. People come to work every day working hard and committing themselves fully to this work. And we need to just make sure that we're taking time to thank them each time that we encounter them. And I want to take this opportunity today just to thank the men and women on our departments who are doing the workforce. And I think they deserve a round of applause from all of us. The goal that we have today is I want to hear your concerns. I also want to hear your suggestions. There's a lot of passion around this issue, but we need to be proactive in that. I've been asked a lot about Ferguson. Ferguson, Missouri illustrated what happens when you look at red flags for 20 years and don't make the steps necessary to make changes. Ferguson did not happen overnight. It was a generation or more in the making. And as we look at our numbers, we need to make sure that we have not created such a disconnect in our community between our public safety and our community that we have lost touch and have the possibility for a similar outbreak. If we have a broken or negative event in our community, that's when people want to come out. And I can't tell you how proud I am of Kansas City, Kansas today to look out at the number of people who have come out on a proactive model as an opportunity to bring your voice before a major negative event happens and to help us create an environment and a community that we all can be proud of, to make sure that we're moving our community in the right direction. So your presence here tonight is a tribute to the strength of this community. It's a tribute to your commitment to our community, and it's a tribute to the unified government's intention to move our community forward in a positive way. So we have a couple people who are going to make some comments. First, I'm going to invite Mr. Barry Grissom. He is the U.S. Attorney. I met him at the Martin Luther King event in 2014, and he was instrumental in helping us connect with the Department of Justice. I know he has a passion for these issues, and I'd have asked him to say a few words of welcome. Mr. Grissom, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And may it please Mr. Mayor and may it please the council members, I'm from the federal government. I'm here to help. Okay? When I first got this job, the Attorney General Holder said,
Okay.
You know that you're the chief law enforcement prosecutor in the District of Kansas. And I said, well, yes, sir, of course I do. He said, but you know what, you're more than that, much more than that. You are the chief problem solver. You have the ability to bring people together, to ask them to sit in the same room and to talk. And keeping that in mind, shortly thereafter, I was on over here at the Reardon Center, M.L. King celebration, and sat next to the mayor, who I had not yet had a chance to meet. And he spoke before I did, and he laid out his vision of what he thought would be a healthy, diverse public service fire department here in KCK. When the event was over, I kind of ran him down, and I said, what is it that we can do to help you? And right away, he and Maureen set a meeting up, and we had a meeting a week or so after that. And we have resources in the federal government that helps bring people together to work in a way that you can achieve goals so it's a win-win for both sides. Because as the mayor correctly pointed out, what happened in Ferguson was what happens when you are not proactive and you just sit around and wait for the other shoe to drop. It's a lose-lose. So I want to applaud the efforts of the mayor. I think this is an incredibly, incredibly exciting time for the city. This is something that will only, we hear the term value added, it only adds even greater value to this community. And as I've told the mayor and I will tell the council, we stand ready, willing, and able to use any of our resources to help facilitate this process. We've already brought some folks in to help in that regard, but anything more that we can do, we will certainly help you. When I came in, someone recognized me and said, "Are we in trouble?" And I said, "Just the contrary. You're far from being in trouble. You are in a great place right now doing great things, and you're to be commended for that." So again, anything we can do, we stand ready, willing, and able to help you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Grissom. I appreciate your presence here. I also want to welcome to the podium a person who has agreed to be the chairperson of this event. When I was thinking about the scope and the complexity of the issues we were about to take on, I needed someone professional, I needed someone articulate, I needed someone who had a heart and a passion and a depth of respect in the community. And of course, I immediately turned to Reverend Jimmy Banks, and he said yes, that he'd be glad to help. So, Reverend Banks, I appreciate your leadership on this. I would ask you to make a few comments.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to commissioners and to the public assembled here tonight. I am honored to have been asked to provide some semblance of leadership and working with Bill Miller to fashion some remedies to address some challenges that we face as a community. I came from Mississippi in 1956, and I left a system that did not present me with a lot of opportunities for future success. And when I came to Kansas City, Kansas, things changed in my life and the life of my family. We were able to be educated, to go to college, to enjoy some good careers, and that's all as a result of the sense of community and support that I enjoyed coming up, and even now as I pastor the Strangers Rest Baptist Church in Kansas City. This is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for us to continue to pursue greatness. We've made a lot of success in a lot of areas, and I think people are looking to Kansas City, Kansas to see if that pursuit can continue and even rise to higher heights. And all of that involves us working together and leveraging our talents, skills, and abilities and passion for equity, equality, and justice, and so that the result of our actions results in a sense of community. And I think that's the key to our future. And so working with these talented people who are on the task force, and I'm glad to see these young people here so they can see the all-American story being lived out, and they're able to observe this process as we grapple with the opportunities for substantive change. We're going to work hard. We're studying data. We're looking at the processes. We're trying to remove any invidious barriers to a person being able to compete for a job. The president's talking about everybody having a fair shot, and I think that's what we're about. So at the end of all of this, with your help, with your ideas and your suggestions, we plan to come back to this body and present a workable plan that allows us to have a sense of community and a hard-working, competent staff that takes us well into the future and beyond. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. The process that's going to unfold next is the process we use for a public hearing at the Unified Government. And we have a process where we have people sign in. So if you would like to speak tonight, I invite you to make sure you work your way over to the door and sign in. You can still sign in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes. And as I say at every public hearing, you needn't use all 3. Amen. But you're welcome to. We have an open policy, we will be here until everyone who desires to speak has spoken. This is your night and this is your opportunity. So we are going to be here. The way it works is the clerk is going to call your name, who is ready to speak and who is on deck. Because we love baseball, amen, we use the on deck analogy. And so we would ask if you're on deck, if you're sitting in the middle somewhere, to be working your way to the edge so that you will have the opportunity to come up and it'll keep it moving in a timely way. I would also remind you we do have overflow seating with video and audio in the lobby behind us. So if you would like, if you get tired of standing, you're welcome to go out into the lobby and take a seat, and you'll be able to observe all the proceedings from out there. So that is an option as well. We have some policies that we do adhere to. We do have a sense of decorum in our commission meetings that we, passions are high on a lot of the topics we talk about up here. And so we do ask that as someone speaks, and if you agree with them, that you refrain from clapping. And if you disagree with them, you refrain from booing or hissing, right? So we are going to ask for that decorum. Everyone has a right to speak their mind. Some you will agree with, some you may not. But the level of decorum we expect is high. If there are reminders, I will make that reminder as we go through the meeting. But I do ask that you hold your applause and any public comment for when you're at the microphone. And also to set the level of decorum, I'm very honored to introduce Mr. Derek Dean. Mr. Derek Dean is the facilitator from the Department of Justice who has been assigned to work with our community. Mr. Dean has a policy that he runs through with the Department of Justice in terms of decorum. So is Mr. Dean, I don't see him right now. Is Mr. Dean around a corner that I do not see? All right, Mr. Dean is not here. He has been very helpful in this process moving through and has been helping with our task force process. So if he does come in later in the meeting, I will make that introduction. But anyway, I did want to recognize him. So without further ado, we are going to begin the public hearing process, and I'm going to turn it over to the clerk. She will be keeping time. She will say you have 1 minute remaining, and then she will let you know when your time is up. Madam Clerk?
We would like to welcome all present to this public meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, regarding the Mayor and Department of Justice Task Force on Public Safety Recruitment. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of your views. We would, however, remind you that there are 30 individuals signed up to speak. As each person comes to the microphone, you will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Should you go to the 2-minute mark, I will announce that you have 1 minute remaining, and that will allow you time to wrap up your comments. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. On deck means that you will be next to the podium. We would appreciate your efforts to be considerate to all during the comments. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio. Once comments begin, we would appreciate no talking, clapping, or outbursts so that you will not disturb the hearing for recording purposes and for TV viewers. If any distractions occur, you may be asked to leave the room. Chaina Robinson to the podium, Thurl Holland on deck.
Good evening. My name is Chaina Robinson, and I am a resident of Wyandotte County. I stand before you as a proud resident as I credit my interpersonal, educational, and professional success as having been cultivated within this county. I would like to talk with you about a young boy who had ambitions of wanting to be a firefighter. His grandparents could recall that as early as age 4, he told his preschool teacher he wanted to be a firefighter. A little boy with big dreams. Anytime he saw a firefighter in the community, he was so excited to learn about fire services, asking 101 questions, gathering as much information as possible. This big dream carried on through his adolescent and young adult years. After serving faithfully for 8 years with the Kansas City Parks and Maintenance Division by day, by night, he attended courses at our local Kansas City, Kansas Community College, where he successfully completed his EMT and firefighter courses, earning an A in both classes. In 1995, now feeling equipped to apply for the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department, he pursues his course of action needed to take this journey by taking the entry-level fire exam through Standard and Associates. After taking the exam twice, he learned that he did not make first band both times. Interestingly enough, after requesting his test scores, he was told that this was not allowed as this was privy information. Although feeling defeated, wanting to make a big dream his reality, he continued to persevere and was hired as a firefighter by another jurisdiction where he serves as driver-operator and is well respected for his skills, knowledge, and ability to execute fire safety. In terms of national certifications,
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you. He successfully executed and completed Firefighter 1, 2, Hazmat, EMT, and driver operation exams. This young boy, now a man, has been my best friend for 20 years, my husband for 7.5 years, and a wonderful father. He's never failed a drug test, never been arrested, or sit in the back of the police car. I'm sorry. This is fascinating to me because when he talks to his white counterparts that currently serve within Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department, his recruitment experience was much different from theirs. I appreciate your time as I submit to you today that due to public safety practices of nepotism, lack of diversity of thought, and institutionalized discrimination that has created disproportionately to affect African American representation, it is imperative that a strategic plan is implemented to
Your time
enforce
is up, ma'am.
equitable
Thank you.
recruitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, I envision 30 eloquent speeches, amen? So we'll just hold our applause and continue moving. So our next speaker, please.
Thurl Holland to the podium. Malcolm Campbell will be on deck.
Good evening. My name is Thurl Holland, 1315 North 59th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. And I thank you for this opportunity to just ask a couple of questions. And I will not be using all 3 minutes because I don't have an eloquent speech. I am a former employee of the UG, and very early on in my employment, I was told by someone who had worked here for a while that the EMT training that's required before firefighters can be employed or even make an application, that it has to be completed. And that was at the point when either black or minority employment with the fire department dropped. So my question is, those 75% of the people that are hired outside of Kansas City, do they have to pay for their EMT training out of their pocket, or is it provided by their municipality, therefore giving them an advantage over Kansas City, Kansas residents who have to pay out of their pocket for the training? The second thing, and I wondered how many military people in Kansas City, Kansas who have served in the armed forces are available or would be available for employment should some things change. And finally, once people are employed, is there a mentoring program set up to make sure that they get through successfully? And those are the questions that I have. No eloquence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holland.
Malcolm Campbell to the podium. Jerome Randolph will be on deck.
Hello. Thanks for letting me speak to you guys. I was asked to
Your name and address for the record, please.
Oh yes, Malcolm Campbell, and 9915 Wyandotte County, Kansas.
Okay.
I was asked to tell my story about my firefighter experience. I'm from Wyandotte County, graduated with honors at Sligo, graduated at Alabama State University. After that, I played professional basketball overseas for about 3.5, 4 years. I came back, I moved in California, moved to Atlanta, And I came back to Kansas. I have a family who was always in, law enforcement. My uncle, my cousins are all firefighters and police officers. And I came here to be a firefighter myself. I passed everything, got my EMT certification, firefighter 1, firefighter 2, hazmat. I passed all the background tests, everything. And I got to the psych review. I think it's the last step to become a firefighter, which was around 2-minute conversation. And he asked me some basic questions, and he asked me some really crazy questions off the wall that I answered yes or no to. And after that, he shook my hand, smiled at me and told me good job, good luck. And I felt pretty good. I passed everything. I was just waiting for my paper to come in the mail and say, hey, you've been accepted to be a firefighter. And 2 weeks had passed. I started wondering what was going on, and I got the letter in the mail that said I was too much of a risk. I was a risk, too much of a risk to be a firefighter. So I called everyone that I could, the chief, I called my uncle, who was a retired firefighter. Everybody that I could. I just wanted to know what the risk was. What was it that didn't allow me to become a firefighter?
You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. And they told me that it was confidential information. They couldn't let me know. They couldn't let me know what was a risk, what was too much of a risk for me to become a firefighter. I still don't know to this day why I'm not a firefighter. And this happened around, I think, 3 years ago. So I still think about this. I could have been a firefighter for around 3 or 4 years up to this point. So I just wanted to let everybody know my story. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Jerome Randolph to the podium. Eric Copeland will be on deck.
Jerome Randolph, 815 North 63rd Street, Kansas City, Kansas. Good evening to all. Mr. Mayor, first of all, in my 40-year experience, I have yet to see, you are the highest ranking city official that is taking this situation by the horns, and I applaud you. I applaud you. I believe that if we're truly a unified government, that we need to be a unified people. And if we're going to be a unified people, we need to be a diversified people. And it needs to happen from the top down. The body goes where the head goes. And we've had some serious issues within public safety, specifically the fire department. I stand with 27 years experience with the fire department, have been retired 13 years, and in 40 years we still have the same stories that we just heard from this young man, Mr. Campbell. Men who are qualified, men who have credentials, get the EMT on their own from the junior college, spend their own money, and come back and told they cannot pass a psychological evaluation. Something is seriously wrong, and it needs to be fixed post-haste because we're losing a lot of good people to other jurisdictions, to other municipalities. We have a veteran that 20 years experience who fought the war in Iraq, giving us this liberty that we have here tonight, but yet he can hold a gun, but he can't hold a fire hose. Something's wrong. We have another individual who, 10 years from retirement from the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, will be retiring in 10 years as a detective, and yet he could not become a firefighter here in Kansas City, Kansas. Something is wrong. So we're losing a lot of good people. Both of these men are products of our school district, have done well. One went to the Explorers program, which was a very beginning stage where they did ride-alongs in the fire department, but yet they could not go any further. And so we're not asking for any lowering of standards because we have people who are qualified, who have the skills, knowledge, and ability to do this job. And again, if they can carry a gun, if they can fight for our country, they can surely hold a fire hose and carry a ladder. So I applaud you, and I pray that we will continue to work steadfastly in this. But I believe we need to have some reorganization within the fire department. I believe it needs to start at the top, and I believe that we need to quit the masquerading of people within our communities to make it look like something that we're not, and bring on some people that will help us make this community the great community that it is. And I believe that it can be done, but we have to need people. For years and years, we've had the ears of this council, every mayor, city administrator, council members,
Your time is up,
fire
sir.
departments.
Thank you.
I have one more minute?
I've already gave you your warning.
And I'm sorry?
She already gave you your warning. Your time
Oh,
is
I didn't
up.
hear it. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry.
As a preacher, I understand.
Thank you. For my next quote.
All right. I just want you to know, Pastor, I'm holding my restraint. I want to take an offering tonight, and I'm not going to do it. So, Madam Clerk, who's next?
Eric Copeland to the podium. Tommy Wilson will be on deck.
Hello, my name is Eric Copeland. I was hired onto the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department in April 1990 and was just recently retired September 15, 2014. When I came onto the job, I was very optimistic, upbeat, and proud of making my way through rookie class with good test scores and one of 3 out of a class of 12 to go to EMS state boards and pass everything. Alan Bradley was one of the 3. I was able to get on hazmat during the next few years. I learned all I could about hazmat and the fire rigs in hopes of being promoted. 3 degrees, a bachelor's of science from Baker University, a fire science degree from the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and an advanced management degree from Dillard University, New Orleans. I sat down to take the promotional driver's test at least 15 times. Passing it 15 times, I couldn't get promoted. For 20 years, I was allowed to drive fire trucks when driver was off, ride the seat acting captain when captain and driver was off respectfully. I took the driver's test for the last time in 2010. I scored 99 questions right on a test of 123 questions. 195 points out of 200 points on the driver's test. The reason I was given for scoring so low was that everyone else got 100 questions right. My reply after 20 years, I know how to operate every piece of equipment you have on this job, and I can't get promoted. But you promote guys who can't pump or drive. I apologize for raising my voice. At that point, I knew I was dealing with structured racism. When I let it be known I was retiring as soon as the first month of eligibility, an operations chief came to my station one morning and said to me, "Keep it in mind, I have been on the job 24 years already."
You have 1 minute, sir.
He said, "Eric, if you take the test again and you pass, would you stay if you got promoted?" My response, "Are you kidding me? I would take almost a $3,000 cut in pay, and I would not be able to recover that loss for almost 4 years. I should have been driver in my 6th to 8th year and a captain in my 10th to 15th year." He just sat and listened while I vented. The system is designed to keep you in place until someone sees fit to say, "Hey, let's promote them." These are a few incidents that I have written on the paper. Almost 25 years of service, I have a lot to tell. It was in the news a few months back where a white reporter was interviewing a white representative from the department, talking about how good things are across the board for his hiring and promoting. And I'm sitting there listening to this at home. I said to myself while watching the commentary on TV, why don't they ask somebody black? So.
Thank you.
Tommy Wilson to the podium. Karen Jones will be on deck.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, and civic and community leaders. I'd like to say, first of all, I'm here to thank you also, Mr. Mayor, for having the sphericals to bring this issue before the commission and the community by extension. I was a part of the fire department for 23 years, I believe. They run all together after a while. But I believe I was a part of the Black Firefighters organization when we felt like it was necessary to bring a suit against the city and Local 64. That suit was dismissed with prejudice based on some issues that many of us didn't have any control over. And I feel that it's despicable that the city is in the same position now as they were back in '87 when I came on the job. No one has addressed it. Former leaders of the government, former leaders of the fire administration apparently felt no need to address the situation. And I just want to thank you again, sir, for your being out front on this issue. Now I want to offer a solution. I'm from the military personally and from my family, so as a military brat, we always recognized on the posts of Fire Prevention Week where the fire department came out with literature and trinkets, helmets, badges, and so forth, coloring books for the kids in the local schools. And this continued throughout elementary and middle school. And I believe if a program such as that was implemented here locally, that the kids would actually have a reference point
You have 1 minute,
as to where
sir.
they would like to be at some point in their involvement with the community and being part of the community. So hopefully at some point with all these minds working towards the conquering of this diversity issue, that we can come up with solutions that will help ameliorate the situation and make our community the model that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Jones to the podium. Maria Romero on deck.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Karen Jones, and my address is 3400 North 128th Street in Kansas City, Kansas. I am a concerned citizen of Wyandotte County in Kansas City, Kansas, and also feel honored and privileged to also be serving as PRIDE's, the Black Firefighters Association's representative on Mayor Holland's and the Department of Justice's Diversity and Public Safety Task Force. Diversity, hiring African Americans and other people of color, including women, has long been a concern of PRIDE. In fact, the lack of diversity within the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department is somewhat the nature of the existence of PRIDE. Although PRIDE has worked within the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department to do various things over the years to bring the serious lack of diversity to the attention of the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department's decision makers, PRIDE's concerns have seemingly fallen on deaf ears because nothing has largely changed, and the numbers of African Americans, Hispanics, women, and other minority groups continues to be shamefully dismal on the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department and has been for far too many years. PRIDE certainly believes that it is about time that the lack of diversity within the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department is finally getting some real internal and external and public attention. On behalf of PRIDE, we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to Mayor Mark Holland for his fearless courage and clear understanding of the criticality of bringing this very important issue of diversity in hiring and public safety for the fire, police, and sheriff's department to the forefront. Mayor Holland is also to be commended for his unwillingness to sugarcoat the issue and for telling it like it TI is. PRIDE would also like to thank the Department of Justice for their role in getting this issue on the radar in an active and meaningful way with the commendable goal of laying the foundation for things to change and garnering some real results in a quantifiable way and ensuring that the employee demographics of our public safety departments looks like the citizen demographics of Wyandotte County. Lastly, and especially on behalf of PRIDE, I want to strongly encourage the mayor, the Department of Justice, and the task force to look closely at implementing long-term opportunities to make sure that the tide does indeed change and that it stay turned with an effective, adequate amount of oversight being put in place to make sure that the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department going forward gets more diverse and stays that way, but the resolution will unfortunately not be an overnight sensation. We don't want to just talk the talk. We want to boldly walk the walk and be able to do so proudly for years to come. So please take PRIDE's long-term oversight suggestions seriously, and I again, on behalf of PRIDE, wholeheartedly volunteer to be a part of such an oversight committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Romero to the podium. Maria Klein on deck.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Maria Romero, and I live in 1401 01 New Jersey Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas. I am currently a 10th grade student in the public service community at Wyandotte High School. I believe if there were more summer jobs and paid internship opportunities for students in Wyandotte County, students would be better qualified for jobs in the public sector of Wyandotte County. Providing more summer jobs and paid internships will keep students off the streets and allow them to earn income to support their families. Therefore, providing solid work experience and careers of interest to Wyandotte students will open doors for a full-time career in the future. Many Wyandotte County students like myself have been working since a very young age outside of Wyandotte County because there were no job opportunities in our local community to help support our family. By having more opportunities for students to pursue jobs locally will keep Wyandotte County residents working in Kansas communities. Thank you for listening to my concerns. I look forward to seeing these changes in our community.
Thank you.
Maria Klein to the podium. Ruby Ellington on deck.
Maria Klein, Kansas City, Kansas, 1957 North 3rd Street. I appreciate the length that you're going to make this possible. But I have been around for a very long time, and we have talked, but we never made a solution. I'm saying, once you put this together, you have to make sure that it gets to everyone. Because a lot of times you cannot always figure that one way is going to work for the others. Once you do put it in place, when it's do keep existing that it's not fair of how you hire, you need to put a committee together to see why. The way to heal in our community, we have to see different races being a part of it. That's the way of growing. So just don't say that you're doing it, do it, and let's see the result out of it.
Thank you.
Ruby Ellington to the podium. Alan Rosales will be on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I had a question. If you get
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Ruby Ellington. My address is 451 Walker Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas.
Thank you, ma'am.
And my question to you tonight is that if you get a task force in place, will they be able to answer the citizens' questions? A couple of years ago, I had was confronted by one of the white firefighters as I was working a part-time job at the Hilton Garden Inn. And the firefighter came in and drew a picture of a black firefighter and a white firefighter and said that they needed to be in certain places. And I made a complaint here at the city, and to this day, I haven't received an answer from that complaint. And I was just wondering if you had any complaints on police officers or firefighters, will it be addressed back to the citizen that made that complaint? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alan Rosales to the podium. Kamari Knott will be on deck.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Rosales, and I live in 245 North Thorpe. I am currently a sophomore at Wyandotte High School, and I believe everyone should receive many opportunities. By opportunities, I mean by having field trips to the Unified Government Building and find out what they do. Another great thing is to have summer jobs to experience how it would be like later on when we actually do it. We would also like internships with companies that have tax abatements. We all deserve opportunities, no matter the race, because everyone has something special in them they are waiting to release and show it off. Thank you for hearing what I have to say. I appreciate it for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kamari Knott to the podium. Eric Roos will be on deck.
This is Cody Wyandotte, 554 North 55th, Kansas City, Kansas. He was invited here. He got Student of the Month this year, pre-K, and he wanted, we was invited here by Paul Jones, Chief Firefighter, and he wants to tell his story on why he wanted to be here today.
I wanted to be here because I wanted to be a fireman.
And that's all he wanted everyone to hear because he loves Paul and what he does for the community here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Roos to the podium.
Chief, will you get his name, please?
Nancy Mart would be on deck.
Thank you, Mayor Holland and the commissioners. And good evening, everyone. I hope you are all having a good evening, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Eric Ruiz. I live in 2736 North 11th Street, Kansas City, Kansas 66104. I am a current sophomore student in Wyandotte High School, and I'm here to share some ideas that I have. I am in a small community public service, and what we do there is we study, we work on stuff about law enforcement, helping the community. Like we have field trips as well, where we go and do community service, helping others, like in harvesters. I don't know if you've heard of that before. And we are learning and trying to get to our career path now. And well, it's a great opportunity that we've had, thanks to our school, to get to learn about new things. Last year I was in the Junior Police Academy, where they taught us about how they train, how to get prepared for those kind of fields as firemen, not necessarily just the policeman, firemen, FBI, doctor, all those kind of things. And you see, what would make it better is if we had more scholarships. If you could offer scholarship for us, internships, or some kind of summer school programs that we could have during the summer that would give us that training and that support for us later on when we graduate and continue our life. We would also like if we could have job shadowing. We could shadow a policeman, a fireman, such as, sorry.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. And like my friend here said earlier, Alan Rosales, field trips to government buildings, also like the police academy, trips that can give us an understanding and more of a learning of what we can choose and what we can go forward to as a career. And that's basically it. Also, one thing that I also have is that we should also stop the injustice and the discrimination in our community, and we should make it a better place. Because when we work together, we can get to farther things, and we can accomplish a lot. And success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Martinez to the podium. Terrence Henderson will be on deck.
All right. Nancy Martinez. I live at 2315 Lawrence Avenue. So I am a paramedic student at KCKCC. I went through the fire academy at KCKCC, and I did my EMT there as well. And I will be applying for KCK Fire Department this month. I've lived in Wyandotte County my whole life. I live in Argentine, and I'm well involved in my community. Being a fire medic for KCK would be a lifelong dream for me. And this is what I want to do. I know this is my calling, and I have a passion for patient care and just being there for my community and showing that I can make a difference. When I asked my little brothers and my little sisters what they wanted to be when they grew up, when they were younger, they would tell me, oh, I want to be a police officer or a firefighter. And now I ask them, the same question, and they tell me that they wouldn't even dare be a police officer or a firefighter because of what society and what the media has portrayed them to be. Like Ferguson, for example, that they're looked upon as monsters when back then they were looked upon as heroes. I believe that diversity begins with our youth. And one thing that I want to see in my community is being involved with children, starting out young, and just showing them that it's okay to make a difference, to want to make a difference, that you don't have to be scared to want to be a police officer or a firefighter, so they're not looked as monsters, how they are right now. I just think you can't have diversity when people don't want to apply for these positions for these very reasons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terrence Henderson to the podium. Lamont Stewart will be on deck.
Good evening. My name is Terrence Henderson. I reside at 742 North 74th Terrace. I'm a 24-year veteran of the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department and the president of the Kansas City, Kansas Black Firefighters Association, Pride. In September 1978, our organization was formed to address the lack of African Americans being recruited, hired, and promoted in the fire service. Over those years, the organization has made many recommendations and proposals to assist in these efforts. However, things have went unchanged. So here we are today. But what we've always heard was that the pool of applicants has been too small, so that we are not being hired because of that. Over my 24 years, I and this organization has actively recruited men and women for the fire service. Over the last year and a half, we've stepped up efforts. And with that, we have formed partnerships with the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, with the Kansas City, Kansas School District, and with assistance from our present fire chief, we have developed recruiting, mentorship, and and tutoring with those applicants. Just to drive home the point, for several years now, the Kansas City, Kansas Public School has had a first responders program with the Kansas City, Kansas Community College. High school seniors were able to do this while they were there for free. Every year, the numbers in those classes would be maybe 4 to 5 applicants. But over the last year, with our active recruitment in those schools, the present class that is in the Kansas City, Kansas Community College is 24 students. Last year, there was only 4. Generally, that's been the high number, is 4. So the last point I'll give you, 10 years ago, the chief of Sugar Land Fire Department, a suburb of Houston, Texas, commissioned a study. He went back 25 years, took the projections of the hiring in the fire department nationally. He projected 25 years into the future, and what he came up with was blacks, minorities would be extinct in the fire service in 25 years. We're now 10 years, just over 10 years into that. To drive home that point, in the last 4.5 years, we've hired 108 people here in the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department. 6 have been black. So the thing is that we have to today take a truly active role in making sure that
Your time is up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lamont Stewart to the podium. Granville O'Neill will be on deck.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, Mayor and council members and fellow citizens. Thank you very much. My name is Lamont Stewart, 3727 Bryant. I'm here to voice my concerns today as a concerned citizen with the lack of diversity within the current city employment and our public safety department. Many have done it, but I just want to reiterate what's been said. I've been a resident of Kansas City, Kansas for over 40 years. I deemed myself to be a connected, studied resident. I've watched the Northeast Urban Core of KCK literally dilapidate and become a heavily blighted area. Our community is deemed a food desert, and our leadership has not stepped up to deliver a relief grocery store for its citizens. I don't believe the Northeast KCK up to Midtown, known as the heart of the city, has reached these conditions by accident. Our businesses are gone, homes are steadily being condemned, financial prosperity, jobs, and opportunity do not exist here, but they once did. How did we get to this point, you ask? I asked myself the same question. I began to do some research and to look to see who has the power and the authority to change these conditions. The answer is you, the mayor, and the commissioners. I received 5 emails this evening about this hearing. And I asked myself, is this some sort of publicity stunt for re-election, or what's really going on? Here's why I asked that question. I was an attendee at the 2014 Martin Luther King celebration where this Department of Justice process or task force was mentioned by the leadership. And since that MLK celebration, the KCK Fire Department has graduated an additional 2 classes, over 75 firemen and women. Of those 2 classes, a few women, no African Americans, and 1 Hispanic. Just this past January of 2015, I sat in the same Martin Luther King celebration and heard the same similar speech as in 2014, but no real change has occurred over that year with those 2 classes that have graduated after what the citizens were told at the MLK in 2014. Again, I ask myself, is this some sort of stunt, or is this the real deal? Will our community leadership stand up and do what's right by its citizens? Will public safety reflect the citizens in which they serve? Also, how did we get to this point? Someone must be held responsible for the staggering statistics that exist, not just in public safety, but across the city in terms of employment. If the majority of the city's employment is derived from its citizens' taxpayers, then the workforce should reflect those same taxpayers. In 2013, I requested a copy of the Unified Government's EEO-4 document that entailed all of the city's departments, not just public safety, from top to bottom of the organization, all city employees and departments. This broke down all the departments, race, salary, age, and gender. Ironically, but not to my surprise, these statistics across the department showed African-American men and women make up only 5 to 10% of those departments. We just ask that you make a change for us, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greenville O'Neill to the podium. Luis Farrell will be on deck.
To Honorable Mayor Holland, to this august body that makes up the Unified Government of Kansas City, Kansas, I believe statistically everything has been said concerning our public safety. My name is Granville O'Neill. I live at 1942 North 79th Terrace. What I would like to present to you are some recommendations to alleviate some of these problems, in particular to the fire department. I served 32 years with the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department, so I know a little something about it. First of all, first point is to develop a meaningful and resourceful recruiting team that can effectively recruit, which includes African Americans and women recruiters. Number 2, drop the age requirement to 19, which would ensure a greater pool of applicants to pull from. Most of the departments across this country, the required age is 18 to 19. And I believe that if we can train 18-year-old or 19-year-olds to go and fight for this country, certainly we can train them to save people here in our communities at the age of 19. The other point, revive the cadet program that was a part of the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department. My next point is, or recommendation would be to reestablish the EMT certification in-house. We have our sister city across the bridge there that teach their EMT, prepare their firefighters with EMT certification in-house. So I believe that we used to do it. I think that we could go back to doing just that. My next point, seek a federally mandated consent decree that would be in effect
1 minute, sir.
such time that the department personnel is reflective of the community it serves and continues to be in the future. My next point, create an environment that promotes accountability, transparency, and diversity. And lastly, and this is really ambitious, eliminate positions based on nepotism or religious affiliations and/or patronage. Thank you.
Luis Villarreal, go to the podium. Lamont Stewart, you will be on deck.
Hi, my name is Luis Adrian Villarreal, 319 North 14th Street. Mayor Holland, distinguished members of this panel, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm a senior student at Bishop Ward High School. I am also a member of the Junior Police Academy, otherwise known as JPA. JPA is a program offered to partnership with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department and the National Junior Police Academy. The program is currently being implemented in every high school in Kansas City, Kansas, and numerous high schools throughout the United States of America. The JPA program is a course in character education that is geared towards high school students. The JPA is a great opportunity for students to learn what it takes to be a police officer. It also provides students with instructions on many different facets of the police profession, including patrol work, handling crime scenes, SWAT operations, canine handling, and conducting building searches. Furthermore, the JPA program teaches students about our rights and responsibility as members of our community. In 2013, 11 Bishop Ward students graduated from the JPA program. In 2014, 26 students graduated from the JPA program. This year, 31 students are participating, and they are expected to graduate from the program. Out of the 31 students, 28 are minorities. When law enforcement officers and young people are brought together, wonderful things start to happen. Frame this image in your mind and glimpse the engine that powers JPA. For youth, someone to champion justice. For the police officer, someone worth fighting for. Please hire police cadets from within the Junior Police Academy. Remember, together, young people and police officers generate a uniquely American brand of idealism that is essential to both liberty and democracy, and enthusiasm for justice. Thank you for caring.
Thank you.
Lamont Stewart to the podium. Barry Martin will be on deck. Barry Martin can go to the podium. CeeLo Fernandez will be on deck.
Mary Martin, 804 South 89th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. Mayor, commissioners, and the public. I'm here today to talk to you about what's going on in Wyandotte County. And to me, if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, it is a duck. So therefore, we have massive discrimination in every level in Wyandotte. Now, I'm a transplant here. I'm not born and raised in Wyandotte. I'm not going to apologize for it. It just is. What I'm saying to you is that on every level, even as I look at the commissioners sitting before us today, we have McGee that's not here. We have an at-large seat that hasn't been filled for 2 years. We got Walker that isn't here. That just shows the seriousness and the urgency of what we're debating today. Some of y'all don't care. And therefore, we get the public policies that we get. Now, in terms of why we have the police department, the fire department, and the sheriff department underutilized and disrepresentative in terms of the community they serve, it's clear. It's an interviewing problem, it's a hiring problem, and it's a testing problem.
I think it's your responsibility to take care of that. It's only 3 issues. Those individuals that are making those decisions that are not making the decisions for the public at large. If you want to correct it, deal with that.
CeeLo Fernandez to the podium. Brenda Shivers will be on deck.
Hi, good evening. CeeLo Fernandez, Chief Program Officer at El Centro, 650 Minnesota Avenue. At El Centro's mission is to strengthen communities through and improve the lives of Latinos and others through social, economic, and educational opportunities. That's why, on behalf of the board of El Centro, our staff, and especially of the community that we serve, our clients, we totally support this workforce and this idea of changing these organizations to look more like the community that they serve. Most of our clients, unfortunately, do not trust in people who work in uniforms. And unfortunately, people in uniforms doesn't trust in communities or in people that look like me or that talk like me. So the idea of having a more diverse community that is not only reflects the ethnicity or the language or the color or the accent, but that can refer the culture, the competency, the knowledge, and can understand exactly what is the community going on, we will avoid to have at El Centro have on daily basis those families that come to us with horrible stories that instead of calling the police, they came to us because they trust us. So that is something that the workforce has to develop so the community at large can trust the services. We applaud Mayor Holland and the commissions for this vision to look forward, and we look forward to support you in any way that we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brenda Shivers to the podium. Carol Williams on deck.
Good evening, Mayor Holland, members of the commission, and also members of the Public Safety Task Force and residents that are present. In late 2013, Mr. Robert Mallon Sr., Virginia Sewing, and myself and a member met with the former county administrator, Dennis Hayes, to discuss the inequities in the public safety department. This discussion was later continued with the present county administrator, Doug Bach, Chief Paul Jones, Jason Banks, and the Human Resource Director. At a follow-up meeting with the administrator and Human Resource Director, we were joined by Ladora Lattimore, Reverend Desmond Lamb, and Reverend Robert Mallon Jr. At the first meeting with the administrator, a document was presented that specifically outlined the inequities that existed in the fire and police departments. With a population that is composed of over 60% underrepresented minorities, the public safety departments included less than 10% of the population. We requested 2 things. One, that the unified government make a concerted effort to change these statistics by hiring more of the underrepresented. 2, blacks and Hispanics be moved up to decision-making positions. The basic theme—
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay. I will not go into Pride and all that they have done to increase the number of the pool for employees in the fire department. But I do want to say that in this discussion with the city administrator, we talked about the fact that one of the things that kept minorities out of the fire department was the fact that the psychologists that they employed always found a reason not to hire minorities, even though they would pass all the other tests. We ask that this be changed. And also, the administration pointed out that they were going to look in hiring or issuing a request for a proposal. And this had not been done as of the last public safety meeting.
Your time is up. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Please do something.
Carol Williams to the podium. Amal Jr. will be on deck. Carol Williams to the podium. Do we have an Amal Jr.? Dolores Butler to the podium. Michelle Inchupont to the podium.
Hold on, is this Ms. Butler? Yes. Come on, I'm sorry.
Oh. Sorry about that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dolores Butler. I live at 5806 Georgia Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, 66104. I had a question, and I spoke with the mayor briefly at one of our livable neighborhood meetings about having a career day put back into the U.S. District 500 system. I worked for the district for 25 years, and a long time ago, we used to have a career day. And the career day started at elementary through high school. And so when you put those positions back in where you make it mandatory, our children only know what they see or what they're introduced to. So if I remember the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department coming next door to the elementary school, and the kids actually got to see the fire trucks and trying on some of the uniforms and stuff. But this makes an impression. Everything else impresses them how to shoot people, kill people. We see all this, but we need to show them a positive side. So we can implement the District 500 to put Career Day back as a part of their agenda. Every year, I think we did it during the month of May, and you bring in all kinds of people. It don't have to be just the police department or the fire department, but if they're not exposed to this and they don't know anything about it, parents aren't going to say, well, go join the police department, go join the fire department. They're not going to say that. So I think that I would like to see that implemented back into the school system.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle Edie Tremont. Leroy Smith will be on deck.
Hello, my name is Michelle D'Entremont. Call me Leo. 3938 Springfield Street, Kansas City, Kansas. I'm a 34-year-old EMT, nursing student, and Army veteran. I have a bachelor's degree in biology and training at the U.S. Army Chemical School and U.S. Army Engineer School. I'm a certified firefighter 1 and 2, hazmat operations, and 40-hour HAZWOPER. 2.5 years ago, I decided to pursue a long-time dream of mine to become a firefighter paramedic and to actively begin working towards that goal. This summer, I changed my mind when I saw the underbelly of the system. And just a peek. I went through the fire academy at KCKCC. While in that program, I was told by a female instructor, a captain with the KCKFD, that I would have to accept and live with certain expectations of my behavior because I am female. I should stop speaking out so much. I shouldn't volunteer for tasks that require extra heavy lifting to prove myself. I should act more female, whatever that means, so I don't make people uncomfortable, because that's what's expected of me. Imagine how that sounds to me, an ex-Army officer who was one of only 6 females in a combat engineer company. I don't know if I felt anger or pity that this strong female firefighter had internalized such horrible ideas. Then I applied to the KCKCC paramedic program. Despite having a 4.0 GPA and an excellent resume with military experience, and despite being told that they want more female candidates, I was not selected out of 26 applicants for 24 slots. I know why. It's because I'm different, and I refuse to pretend to be the same. I refuse to sit quietly in the little box assigned to my demographic. There is a fundamental problem with the cultural expectations in our realm of public safety. Diversity isn't just about seeing a better mix of brown and black amongst pasty pale faces and enough ponytails and lipstick strewn in for good measure. You'll never get more demographic diversity of race, gender, and religion until you make your organization open to a diversity of ideas, diversity of thinking, diversity of personalities, and diversity of backgrounds. You can't just say you want more diversity, you need to exemplify it. I was in the Army. I understand that unit cohesion is necessary. However, diversity doesn't mean that token diverse individuals need to make sure the majority feels comfortable with their existence. It means that the culture itself needs to change so that minority individuals feel included, wanted, and valued for their skills and contributions, not excluded for their differences. If you truly want to find and retain talent from a broad pool of applicants, you need to make those applicants feel as though they won't face a career-long uphill battle due to the very nature of their existence. Tell us that we have a place here, and then follow through. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we appreciate the eloquence of all of the speeches, so thank you all for your decorum, and I appreciate the contributions. Madam Clerk?
Leroy Smith to the podium. Beverly Darby will be on deck.
Good evening. My name is Leroy Smith, and I live at 6664 Greeley Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas. I've lived here over 40 years. And I want you to know tonight that racism is running rapid in Kansas City, Kansas. If you stop at any service station till you get out west, there's not a restroom to be used. If you go down here at CVS on 10th Street, they don't have a restroom for you to use. But if you go on 82nd and State, there's a restroom for you. It's running rapid in Kansas City, Kansas. It's not only in the police department, and it's not only in the fire department. Now, we're all Americans and we're all citizens. We shouldn't have to be going through this kind of stuff this day and age, but we are. Something needs to change, and it needs to change now. Mayor Holland, I applaud what you're trying to get done. Rem Banks, I applaud you. But we're American citizens. We shouldn't have to go through this. Should already be a done deal. But now we're dealing with it again. I fought in the 60s. I had knots all upside my head for trying to eat in a restaurant. Now here we go again. Same old stuff, same old day, and we need to make a change. And we don't need to wait very long to get it done. We need to do it now.
Thank you.
Beverly Darby to the podium. Laura Hewitt will be on deck. Change your mic. Laura Hewitt will be to the podium. Mike Vitale will be on deck.
Good evening. My name is Laura Hewitt. My residential address is 1116 South 57th Terrace. My commercial address is 2933 South 47th Street. Both of those here in Wyandotte County. I am a citizen. I'm a business owner. I own a small business here in Wyandotte County, and I employ about, depending on the month, about 20 people. And they're a pretty diverse group, with one exception. I can't find enough men to be dental assistants. They just don't want to do it. I found one, and he decided that he was going to further his career and go to hygiene school. So I lost him as an employee. So we're a bunch of women, unfortunately. I tell my staff all the time I wish I could find some more guys, because it would be great to have a couple more men around. So I absolutely understand that we're looking for some diversity in our workforce, absolutely. I think that we could use some more diversity in just about everything that we do. Not just racial diversity, but diversity of backgrounds, diversity of ethnicities, diversity of income, just diversity of just about everything. That's a good thing. It can never be a bad thing to have diversity, absolutely. My questions pertain to some of the data that we saw on the screen when we started here, and some of the data that I've heard spoken a few times in the beginning of this process. When Mr. Holland said that he attended a fire department graduation shortly after election, and there were 42 graduates and only one of them a woman. That had to have been a compilation of more than one fire department graduation. There was not a class of 42 graduates since April of 2013. So that had to have been a compilation of more than one graduating class. I heard it spoke that tonight, not exactly.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
I heard it spoke that fire department careers start at $55,000 a year at a speech right across the street over here within the last few years. That's not true. Tonight it was spoken that they start at about 1.5 again of the county-wide normal income, or regular median income, I guess. If that is referring to the $55,000 starting salary, that is not true. I would like for the commission and the mayor to examine the data that we started with and make sure we started with the correct data, to make sure that we're using the correct data and we're speaking the correct data in sound bites on the radio and being quoted in the paper and on the screen here tonight. I know many of these things because I was there. I witnessed those graduations. I was present at those ceremonies, and I'm certain that many people, many men and women that serve on the fire department. Thank you.
I would take the opportunity to clarify. You are correct. The 42, there was a group of 42 hired, and they went through 2 graduating classes, one of 26 and one of 16. The group of 26 graduated in the fall of 2013, and the group of 16 the following summer. And it was correct, in the 26 there were no women. The woman was in the second group of 16. And for simplicity purposes, because it was a single hire offer of conditional offer of employment, it was to 42 individuals. And I do give the demographic of the combined graduation. So I appreciate your clarification on that. Thank you.
Mike Vitale to the podium. Murray Anderson will be on deck.
Thank you. I'm Mike Vitale, 4315 North 112th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. And I'm here as Vice President of Academics at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And just to make sure everyone knows that following the mayor's speech in January of 2014, our EMT and paramedic director immediately started on a recruitment project working directly with the high schools, going out, taking equipment, taking a donated ambulance that we turned around to markings with KCKCC to show the students, to get the high school students to start seeing what the EMT was all about. We got our firefighters involved with that too. And as you heard Mr. Henderson mention, this year, moving forward, we have, for the first time ever, a full first responders class in the high schools. We are also working with KCK School District USD 500 to start a program this fall where we will be taking high school seniors in, putting them through the EMT program, and also giving them other academic credits and hopefully some fire forensic training to keep them excited as they wait for that 19th birthday, which I understand Chief Jones has lowered the age to 19 now for hiring of firefighters in Kansas City, Kansas, or is certainly working towards that goal. And so, you know, while we've heard a lot of very tragic and very, you know, disheartening and sad stories coming from a lot of people here tonight, we also heard a lot of positive things coming from the high school students, who some of them have already left, and I guess the rest are leaving now, that they're still looking for that opportunity. They still have that,
you have 1 minute,
you know,
sir.
that belief that they can become the next fire chief, the next police chief, and the next sheriff. So let's all keep working and make action so that those students' dreams can come true. It may be too late for some, but it's not too late for the future. Thank you.
Murray Anderson to the podium. Thomas Gordon on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Murray Anderson, Murray D. Anderson Sr. I reside at 4101 Minnie in Rosedale. I've been a member of Wyandotte County for 60 years. There's been a lot of discussion about racism and how it affects our community, how it has adversely affected our community. The definition of racism in my mind and in my heart is corrupt capitalism practiced by a municipal government or a state government or a federal government. Under this administration, in this 21st century, in 2015, Mayor Holland, you have the power in your hand to change these circumstances and conditions immediately, without waiting and without asking any of your colleagues. The mayor CEO's power and authority is totally concentrated. The commissioners have no authority to do anything that is representative of a democracy. We have had a history since 1997 that has been orchestrated, that created these circumstances. And there's no reason why justice, shared prosperity, can't be given the life that it deserves by your hand immediately, without discussion, because you have the authority and the power to do so. And I trust that you will, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thomas Gordon to the podium. Joshua Hatchett on deck.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Gordon. I live at 2521 North 7th Street. I'm a resident of Wyandotte County, and I'm proud to be a DOT. However, I was not going to speak this evening until someone says, why don't you go and tell your story? In 1966, I graduated from Sumner High School. The next day, I was in the Marine Corps. I stayed there for 4 years. I came out, I couldn't wait to get back home because I wanted to be a police officer here in Wyandotte County. I left the Marine Corps as an E5 sergeant. I served 13 months in Vietnam, 13 months in Okinawa. And when I took the test, I passed the physical, I passed the academics, but I failed the psychological test. Needless to say, I was totally blown away. I had no idea how I could survive in Vietnam and fail the psychological test to be a police officer in Kansas City. I wondered, had things really deteriorated that much in 4 years? However, when I asked why, I've heard it back in 1970, 45 years ago, and I still hear it today. It's confidential. That's got to change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua Hatchett to the podium. Morris Letcher on deck.
How you doing? My name is Joshua Hatchett. This is Malik. I'm a Kansas City, Kansas fireman. I wasn't going to bring him up, but it's so close to 9 o'clock that we're getting ready to go home and get to bed. But I wanted to share my story. How you doing, Mr. Kane?
Can you state your address for the record,
I'm
please?
sorry, 8220 Split Log Avenue.
Thank you.
I wanted to state my story because I've been on the job 7 years. I'm stationed at 11s at 31st and State Avenue. I do a lot of my box time. I do a lot of my box time at 9s off of Central Avenue. I work hard. I feel like I have a pretty good reputation. I didn't have anything written because I wasn't going to say anything. But the reality of diversifying the department and why it is important is because morale is stronger when you're working next to people that you feel like you have relatability to. One of my best friends on the job's name is Milan Hajdukovic. We've been friends since we were cadets. He's a Serbian guy, which means he's white. I'm gonna be in his wedding in May. Close friend of mine. We've been cool for 7 years, like brothers. But the reality is, I would have never thought we would have been that close if we wouldn't have had the opportunity to be cadets together. When you work with people, when you have relatability with individuals, I watch guys at stations on the job, they know each other from school, they know each other through parents, they know each other, they have relatability. So being in the academy is like an advance in being like a high school senior. It's like just a step up because they went to class together, they were in high school together, they have relatability. Morale is stronger when you work with people you can relate to. And this is not coming from a guy who's retired. This is not coming from a person who tried to get on the job. This is coming from a guy who works the job. All right, that's all I had to say. Oh, one more thing. And that's another extension of my family. She's carrying my second son right now. She didn't want to come up, but I love her too. But I did want to say that, and that's how I feel, so thank you.
Thank you.
Morris Letcher to the podium. That will be our last person, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Morris Letcher, 10808 Augusta Drive. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Commissioners, Mayor, for having us this forum where we can speak. I just felt, wasn't going to come and talk. I'm a 16-year veteran of the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department. I happen to be one of the captains on the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department. I've been a captain for approximately 3 years. Just wanted to tell my story. Graduated Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, fortunate enough to go play college football, tried out for professional football team, Miami Dolphins in 1994. Could have went anywhere in the country to teach. Came back to Kansas City, Kansas because this is home. Came back to Kansas City, Kansas in 1995. Applied for the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. Studied criminal justice. Tip-top shape. Did not get hired for the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. Fortunately, I was enough to get hired for the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department, where I worked for 3 years. 3 years later, unified government city consolidated into the unified government. They had a program where they allowed us to go to KCKCC, and they paid for our EMT school. We rolled right into the Fire Academy, March 8th in 1998. I'm a success story of that program. It needs to continue if possible, because I tell people all the time, I'm a 16-year substitute teacher in the Kansas City, Kansas School District. I was on Piper School Board for a year. I'm now the first black head basketball coach at Piper High School. In order to be a man, you have to see a man. In order to be a fireman, you have to see firemen, if that's what you want to be. And our kids need to see what they want to become. The reason why you see our kids running around with their pants down, sagging, cussing, disrespecting girls and things like that, because that is what they think they can be, what is available to them. I want to thank Chief John Paul Jones, because we have had dialogue that has never been had on the fire department since I've been on the job for 16 years. So I can't say what I want to say in 3 minutes, but I will tell you this. As long as we keep talking and we start implementing things to progress, we can only get better. I thank you. I thank you for your time. And I hope we continue our recruiting efforts in the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. We can do this, y'all. We just have to take this stand at this time. We can't say, hold on. We have to step forward. And please don't get mad. If we get mad, we'll never go forward. That's what's wrong with America now. We need to be steadfast, recognize the problem, and press forward. And the church said, amen.
Well, he was the last speaker, so I think an amen was appropriate. I want to, Madam Clerk, am I correct that is the last speaker? Okay. I want to thank everyone for coming one more time and just tell you the process. We're going to take the comments. We've received a lot of suggestions. I've taken a lot of notes. Our clerk is here taking notes as well for the recommendations and the feedback that we've received tonight. I will tell you that I intend to set up a program. I'm not looking for a quick fix. I'm not looking to have a class go through, show some color, and then we're done. We need a cultural, institutional change that will last for generations and will outlast me on this podium. Because God willing, I have a life after I'm on this podium. But I will say that we have to have a system, and that system has to be carried forward by the people of this community. It cannot be the agenda of one or two people. It has to be a community effort. And part of what we're doing tonight is we're pushing ourselves down an irrevocable path. Because when you say it in public, the public's expectations go up, and the public accountability goes up, and the public will not be denied. We're not going to talk about it and then say, wasn't that a nice evening we all had together? We will be judged by the changes that we make that are not short-term, that are not fast, but are long-lasting. So in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, we can look back tonight and say we made a difference. And if we can't do that, we've wasted our time tonight. So I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank you for lifting up your voice. And I want to thank you for continuing to hold accountable your elected officials and your departments. You deserve the best, and that's what we aim to deliver. So thank you for coming out tonight, and I will ask for a 10-minute recess before we continue with the rest of our agenda. please take your conversations out into the lobby. We're going to reconvene for the remainder of our meeting. Thank you for coming. Please reconvene out in the lobby so we can continue with our business.
Mayor, I wanted to remind you, we have the revision.
Thank you. All right, anyone remaining is here for the remaining business that is before us tonight. Thank you. As we call ourselves back to order, I would like to recognize Ms. Marianne Flunder, a fellow elected official from the Community College. Welcome. In her regular assigned seat, we appreciate that. First row, third seat from the end. I always miss you when you're not here, ma'am. I ask the clerk, are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a blue sheet has been distributed. Under Section 7 consent agenda, we have a corrected item. That's item number 6. Under the administrator's agenda, we have an update to items number 1 and number 2. The totals reflected on the blue sheet are as a result of the bond sale that occurred today.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to our consent agenda. Does anyone in the meeting tonight wish to remove any item from the consent agenda, either a commissioner or a member of the public? Any item not removed will be voted on by a single vote.
Move for approval. Second.
Let the record show no one is moving forward to remove an item that is properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley. Aye. Walters. Aye. Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion passed.
Thank you. That brings us now, let me find my place.
Mr. Mayor, under the consent agenda, we will need to do a vote for the tax for billboards item. That item requires 8 votes, and we have a 7-0 vote.
Oh, thank you. Aye.
The vote is 8-0 for consent agenda items.
Thank you. All right. That brings us now to the administrator's item, and this is our resolution for the issuance of municipal temporary notes. I'll turn it over to Mr. Bach. Oh, and I'll loan him my microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Commission's aware, the bond sale that we went out on, these are previously approved projects that have been brought forth to the Commission, approved for us to move forward and put into the bond sale. It also constitutes some temporary notes that we had last year that will move from temporary notes to bonds. This action was approved to move forward by the governing body. And today or yesterday we conducted our actual bond sale. Mr. Levin, with our Chief Financial Officer, is here today to just give closing comments on the results of our bond sale for your approval.
All right, we heard a presentation on this earlier at our 5:30 special session.
Move for approval on Series A 2015A, I'm sorry.
We get to the top, item number 1.
Okay. 2015-I.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded for the first one under item number 1. We'll call that letter A. Seeing no discussion, roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Motion for approval of 215-2.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval under item number 2 of ordinance series 2015-A.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval of the resolution for series 2015-A.
Second.
Seeing no discussion, roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval of the ordinance for series 2015-B.
Second.
Seeing no discussion, roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval of the resolution for series 2015-B.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval of the resolution for series 2015-C.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Move for approval of the ordinance for series 2015-D.
Second.
Roll call.
Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Finally, move for approval of the resolution for series 2015-D. Second.
Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
All right, Mr. Levin, thank you. Excellent work with you and your team. It's a lot of work, and we appreciate all that you've done. All right, that brings us to our final item tonight, and it is a resolution for a fire and water pollution control maintenance facility. I'll turn this over to Mr. Bach.
Move for approval. Second.
Any discussion? Excellent presentation, Mr. Tobin. Roll call.
Thank you.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
All right, I believe excellent work, Commission. And I want to just reiterate. You have Mr. Tobin?
I did want to say thank you. I just didn't want to interrupt you. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the thanks and for your courtesy. I appreciate it. Those are all the items that we've had. This has been a good night, and I would just want to express my appreciation to the Commission for your patience and diligence and for the work that we're doing together. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. We are adjourned. And thank you again to Building and Logistics for coming up on short order with a microphone system.